I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I get the distinct honor of introducing you to incredible women, women that inspire me. But what's the most important thing is that I really believe this is the time for women emerging on the planet, that our energy, our nurturing characters, our wisdom is needed. And so I'm so grateful that these women have taken charge in their own lives and become dedicated to make a difference for women and people all over this planet. So we do these every week. We're on all the platforms: Spotify, iTunes, iHeart Speaker, YouTube video. Please subscribe, share this with a friend or anybody you know who might need support. You can also go to cynthiajames.net. There's gifts there, and there's all kinds of things going on in my world, and I'd love to share it with you, because this is what I believe, that the more we can nurture and care for each other, the more we rise. I'm very grateful today to have a guest. She's new to me. Her name is Sylvia Moore Myers. She is an experienced entrepreneur, an author, and business consultant with over 30 years of expertise, certified in mental health, life coaching, and crisis intervention. She's the founder and CEO of Gold Scars, LLC. Sylvia authored Gold Scars, say it right, Cynthia, offering insights into grief, loss, and trauma. As a sought-after speaker, she inspires audiences to embrace SCAR, strength, courage, adaptability, resilience, and navigate healing through her 7 to Heal method. Sylvia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm really looking forward to our conversation, but I want to start with where you came from, how you grew up. You know, people have a misconception of the fact that people just dropped into successful ways of being, but we all evolved. So how did you evolve?
Sure. Well, I guess it's kind of strange. I'm a late diagnosed autistic adult. Found out I was autistic writing my book. And I realized that it wasn't the last 20 years that I'd gone through grief, but it was my entire life, early childhood included. And, I was 6 down and 5 up of a family of 10 children with a less than nurturing type of mother. She was very businesslike. I made appointments to see her. I didn't. She was mayor and traveled the world, but she wasn't a nurturer. And so I lacked that as a child. And as an autistic child, I was kind of bullied in grade school, junior high. Got into high school and realized that I needed to act different or I wasn't going to make friends. So I immediately put that into play, not even knowing what I was doing. I was just acting the part, right? And got through that, but went right into adulthood. The same thing from employers. I was sexually harassed and abused by 2 separate attorneys. I decided at that point maybe law wasn't my career after all, and became an entrepreneur because I was tired of that crap. No offense. I just, it never seemed to end. So I got into it. Yeah, go. I'm sorry. Tell me how far down this rabbit hole you want me to go.
I love that you shared that, because I have a very dear friend who in her late 40s got diagnosed with autism. And she said all of a sudden light bulbs went on, that it made her,
yes.
She was like, oh, that's why.
Yes, you really meet yourself for the first time. And what's really sad, and I'm a specialist in autism, I'm an advanced autism specialist. I speak on that subject as much as grief. But when you've spent your entire life masking, which is exhausting, by the way, because after any encounter, if I'm not being my true authentic self, I'm totally shutting down after that because I'm so tired and my brain hurts and my body feels funny and I feel like I've lied through the entire conversation. But when you've done it your whole life, it takes a long time and a little bit of therapy to be able to let that mask down. Even now, to make eye contact means that I need to force it. And
Mhm.
I still, I'm graduating with my master's. I've got my cohort PhD. I'm starting in a couple of weeks, and I still don't know what small talk is. So, as long as there's nothing like that on a test, I'll pass. But I got into my 30s. I'd gone through a bad marriage. I'd lost a child, in the womb, and I had three lovely boys, a wonderful husband, and a business, a real estate business. I was doing pretty good. And I thought, finally, yay, life is going to be normal for me. And I got a call in May of 2003 that my brother was in a hospital close to me. I drove down to see him, and he eventually died from a blood clot. He was very young. He was just turning 50. And he passed away, and I had to help my mother bury her firstborn child. 6 months later, I got the call that no parent wants to get. My teenage son was in a hospital, Macon, which was very far away from where we lived. We have a hospital local. They took him to that one instead, so I was very confused. Um, and I got to the hospital to find out that he had been shot by another teenager that he didn't know, a stranger, in a gas station. And by the morning, he was going to be an organ donor, that 5 people would live because of him, but he was not going to be with us. So I left the hospital to pick out a coffin for a child that was still warm, knowing that the next time I saw him, he was going to be in a coffin of my choosing and cold. And there's 2 other children standing there, and all of my family converging on this. And you would think it couldn't get worse, right? But it did. So we got through that funeral. I had PTSD from the trauma from that, obviously. That's normal. Parents, especially because I was seeing him right after I saw the horrificness of it. And I'm sorry if I'm triggering anybody. Sorry. We'll try to pre warn you before the
I'm
show.
glad you're sharing it because I think life experiences are important.
They
And
are indeed.
so I'm grateful you're sharing it. We
Thank
get to
you.
support you.
Thank you. Well, 8 months later, no kidding, almost to the day, of 8 months after he was murdered, I'm on my way home and I'm being followed. I didn't realize it. It's probably an autistic thing too. I'm attentive to all kinds of things, but I wasn't prepared for that. And the gentleman got out of his car after I pulled into my garage, and he ran in and got me as I was opening the door, and I fought for my life. He was a serial want-to-be killer. I was his fourth victim, not his first. And after a lot of tossling and a loss of hair and a little fist fighting in my driveway, I was in behind his car looking at his license plate, AKV 0943. And one thing about autistic people, we may not remember your name, but by God, we remember your number. I had it like a computer had memorized it. And eventually I got away. I got the license plate. They picked him up. We all, me and 2 little 12-year-old girls and another lady, testified against him in court for trying to kill us. And that was 8 months after. So I already had PTSD, put a traumatic life on top of that. And now I was deep in depression, deep in grief, deep in loss. And I'm staring at a 7-year-old and a 16-year-old, and I have no idea how to help them either. And that is when I went for the grief recovery eventually. It took me several years into that. I lost my marriage. I lost my business. I sold it, got out. And when I finally found the grief recovery and I realized how, and I don't want to downplay this, but how simple the process really is if you're committed to do it, I started helping other people. I got certified in grief recovery. I'm finishing my master's in traumatology and my PhD, but I took it seriously. And that's why I wrote the book. And I'm trying to help. I was helping 8 people at a time. And I thought, if I write this book, there's a very good chance I can help thousands instead, and maybe even
Yes.
tens of thousands instead. And so on my website, I give a lot of my stuff out for free. So just hint, hint. I
Well,
have that, but that's where that came from. That's my story of how I got to where I am now.
yeah. So what's important about your sharing this is that, when you've been traumatized, it's bad enough to go through the trauma. But then if you're holding it in because you don't want to be judged or you don't want to be punished again or whatever, it's like, then it's double. So
Absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit about gold scars. And, first of all, where did that come from? And then I want to talk about the four ingredients of it.
Yes. Because, well, for me, gold scars is like the kintsugi vase, right? Japanese kintsugi vase that
Mhm.
says just because it's broken doesn't mean that you didn't cherish it. You're not going to toss it in the garbage. In Japan, that tradition is to fill those pieces with gold. And the resin is so strong and it's so beautiful when you're done that it's more beautiful, more resilient than before it was broken. And then it's cherished and used again. And that's what we are. We are human beings. We are not a sea cucumber nor a chameleon. We can't grow back apart. And we were never designed by the maker to completely heal. We were never meant to heal. We were meant to scar. We get wounds
Um,
and we scar. And it hit me that we were always meant to scar. That once you get to that healing spot and you've got your scars, people with wounds are looking for people with scars. And that's
yeah.
why and I truly believe God given, spiritual, it's supposed to be that way. How else will we minister each other if we completely heal every time we're injured? And scars on the heart are the same. So,
Yeah. Well, I love about that is because there is something beautiful about connection and community with where healing is concerned. And so um, you're never going to erase what has happened to you.
no. And that's what I was doing. I was running around looking for an eraser to get rid of everything that was wrong, and I should have been looking for a highlighter instead because I I did not need a way to forget what happened to my son or to me. I needed a better way to remember. And that's where SCAR comes in and the 7 to heal. It gives someone a better way to heal and to remember what happened to them.
Well, yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about grieving, and then I want to talk about
So,
the acronym. But, a lot of people have gone through something traumatic, and then other people around them saying, you should get over this, or
oh
they're
yeah,
saying, you know, um, don't you think you spend enough time on this? How can you move forward? And it's like not understanding that grief is the process of grieving is different for every single person. So let's talk
totally.
about grieving just a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, so, and you hit a really good point because in psychology, they teach you that for someone to recover from grief, it can take anywhere from 6 months to 6 years. If you've got PTSD, it's a lifelong illness that you're going to be dealing with. But if you're still suffering and in deep distress after 30 days, you probably got PTSD. Your road is going to take a little longer, right? But society only gives us 6 weeks and then they give up on us. It's called the honeymoon stage of any trauma crisis. And in trauma crisis, whether it's a hurricane or the death of a child or a murder of a loved one or a flood that takes your house down the river, you have that first 6 weeks where everybody wants to get their photo op and rally around you and and do fundraisers and show up with water and pop tarts and the president gets his photo taken at the scene and then they all go away and the next phase is called disillusion and that's when the people that were injured are still standing there going, now we're alone, now what do we do? And that's what grief is like. You go out, and I've had this happen to me personally several years after Jacob died, and someone would say, I haven't seen you. And how are you doing? Well, you haven't been in church for a while. What's wrong? And it's like, well, just thinking about Jacob right now. It's, that time of year. And they'll go, still? It's like, it's been so long. It's like, pow, I'm going to punch you in the face. But no, I don't punch him. I just go, yeah, yeah, still, it's his birthday. So it kind of brings that up. But no, society doesn't. And do you know why? We don't do it to be mean. We're not just innately mean to our people that have been injured. We do it as a self-preservation. We victim blame because we feel like if we'd been followed home in our driveway, we would have got away. Or if my son had been at a gas station, he wouldn't have got shot. It's like he He was 19 in college. You know, he's on his way home to put a Christmas tree up. You know,
Right.
he didn't cause that problem. I could not have prevented it. I know I've relived it 5 million times, thinking if there
Right.
was any possible way. By the way, that's part of the grieving steps, is that, like, okay, God, if you'll do this, I'll do that. Maybe it's a dream, denial, you know.
Right.
But society does that because it's their own way of preserving themselves out of that trauma, and they resolve it in their mind that it would have never happened to them. So they expect you to be over it now, so they don't have to deal with you.
Right. But here's the thing. You can be very much in charge of yourself, but you cannot be in charge of other people's behaviors or psychosis or
No.
challenge.
Mm-mm.
That person that followed you weren't the first. And so
No,
whatever that wasn't even about you. I'm like, how great you got away and you
I
didn't
did.
become
I
a,
got away. Yeah, my
yeah.
son is a baseball player. My youngest or middle son, he had his Louisville Slugger at the corner of the garage, and I managed to get it, and I just started swinging. That's how I got away. That was after I got his license plate number. So
Well, I'm so grateful for you. So I want to talk about SCAR, strength, courage, adaptability, and resilience. Let's start with strength.
sure, and when I talk about the gold scar, strength is let me get to that really quick. It's to get up, right? You got to get up. You got to make that decision. It's the first thing you do. In the 7 steps I'll give you, that's called help. I need help. That admission that, damn, it's not getting any better. But it's hard because we love to wallow around in our grief. We love to stay there because it's now comfortable. We're down, we're depressed, but it's the same, and you feel like it's not going to help. But strength is that thing that you already have in you. By the way, you have the S, the C, the A, and the R pre-wired into your brain as a human being. It's a gift of your creation, and all you got to do is tap into them. So the first one, strength. Make the decision that you're going to do it. Courage. Courage is because it's really easier to stay in grief, like I said, to wallow around in it. And the courage is that you're going to get up and you're going to do something, and it does take courage. I'm afraid so. If I told you, hey, I've got this cure for your grief, I can help you through it, most people think that the person grieving would go, yay, here I come. No, when I have a class, I had a class a week and a half ago for older women. No, older. I'm 63, but they between the ages of 55 and 70. And some of them were very reluctant to go, and others were reluctant to speak when they got there. The courage had to be kind of pulled out a little bit, right? But that's courage, because it does take courage. Adaptability is our ability to change, and we've got it, to pivot, to adjust, to live forward, even when your future looks like nothing that you ever planned. I wasn't just grieving the loss of my son. I was grieving the loss of my future grandchildren, the person that he was going to become. He was my firstborn child. And I grieved everything about him and everything that I'd hoped for him, not just the loss of his body and his mind and his spirit, but of what he would be. And that happens to a lot of people in grief. Grieving autistic parents, they grieve what they thought their child was going to be, and that's grief now for them, that they feel like they've lost that, and I can help them do that. That's adaptability. And again, it's there. You got it. You just got to say it out loud. And resilience. It is the God-given superpower to keep going when everything's unbearable. People call it bouncing back. You can bounce back. It's like, yes, you can. Yeah, because it's called resilience, and our brain is already set up for it. The problem people have is they don't realize that those things all go together. I got to be strong. I got to have some courage. I'm gonna make some changes. Okay, I'm gonna take all the things down that have been in my son's room for 30 years. I did not do that, but some people do. They memorialize it. I'm gonna put them away and start living forward into the future. I'm gonna make some changes in my life. I'm gonna do things differently, and that takes a lot of courage as well. So, and then of course, like I said, resilience. I believe that resilience is how we bounce back. It's how you find new purpose. It's how, I like to say, from the ashes of disaster come the roses of success, from one of my favorite childhood movies. But it's so true. It's so true.
Well, thank you so much. And ladies, I hope you were taking notes or, well, you'll get her beautiful book, Gold Scars. But I want to talk a little bit about diagnosis for autism later in life and the navigating of that because for you, what were the symptoms before you got diagnosed? What were you witnessing in yourself?
First, I want to just say that I was born in the how do you say it, the chaos and glory and beauty of the early 1960s, right? So if I would have been diagnosed autistic when I was in grade school, I would have been institutionalized most likely.
Yes, yes.
So I was very smart. I spoke two languages at the age of two, not one, but two, French and English. A lot of it was echolalia, and I would say big words. And my dad told me about it later in life. He said, "You said constitutionalism or something like that when you were like one," and but they just thought I had a very high IQ and I was quirky. So I was quirky and clumsy. Clumsy is dyspraxia. I fell all the time. I was constantly, I had 3 concussions before I even came into adulthood. Got my 4th concussion a few years ago when I slipped and fell again. But I had a little dyslexia, dyspraxia. I have aphantasia, which means I don't have any vision when I close my eyes. I can't envision an apple. If you tried it now, close your eyes, see if you can see an apple, you'll see one. Most people can. Although that's not a comorbidity of autism, many autism folks with autism have it. But I had everything. I mean, it was all there. When I finally realized it was when I was writing the book, and I got to the section about my mom, and I really did research on this book. I did not write this book in like 30 days with the help of ChatGPT. It was all me. It took years, and I had a writing coach with my publisher, that asked me a lot of questions, sent me back to rewrite a lot. But I did a lot of research on my mom, and I called my brother and I said, Mom was brilliant. I mean, my mother, I don't know what her IQ was, but it was big. That's all I can say. She worked for the governor. She worked for the United States government. She was the mayor of our town. She balanced the books in 60 days of a city who hadn't been in the black in 25 years. Found corruption, turned it all around. It was a lot of fun. And but she was just one of those people that couldn't even stand to take a shower because she didn't like how the water felt on her head, and a half a dozen other things. So I call my brother. I go, "Do you think Mom was like autistic or something?" And I said, I'm kind of reading about her traits, and that's what keeps coming up on my research. And he said, "Yeah, my brother, your brother and I have talked about it too. We've always kind of thought Mom might have been Asperger's." And he was the youngest, so he spent the most time alone with my mother, after 10 of us. And he was telling me all these things, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm pretty sure she was too then. And then I started looking and reading about Asperger's. I'm like, oh God, I think I'm autistic too. So I took the test online. I went to the autism websites, the legit ones, right? And I took those self-tests, and I kept scoring off the chart, right? And I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. It took months for me to get get the appointment for it, but 2 PhDs and me, an entire day after 3 months of testing, sat down, and he said, "Hey, you needed a 48 on this test, you got a 72. You needed a 50 on this one, you got a 90 there." He said, "You got an A plus in autism." It's like, how do I not know it? But I was a walking, talking autistic child, undiagnosed. I clicked every button. I hit every level. If you say it, I am it. I think what really got me through is I'm very good at masking. I trained for 2 years with the National Speakers Association in the United States to speak on stages and with people. I've trained to make eye contact. I've taught myself the things that I need to know, but I'm still authentically autistic. And I love that about me. And
Yes.
I think it's wonderful. It's like I am uniquely wired in my brain. Am I different? Yes. Spend 15 minutes alone with me. You'll see my autism. It can't hide very well. But I cried a lot when I first found out with the doctors, and I said, I don't think I'm sad. I think I'm just crying because I'm overwhelmed. And she said, you're doing what every other client we've ever had. You're meeting yourself for the first time, and it's okay. I said, you're
Uh,
going to spend the next few years getting to know yourself more. It's going to take a little while. And she wasn't kidding. It's taken a while. And I grieved that child that was abused. I was picked on. I was sexually abused. I was treated poorly. I got kicked out of jobs that I should have gotten. If I named everything that was affected by my autism, if I wasn't autistic, my life would have been different.
right. Well,
And that's why I
I want to
encourage
say
people.
thank you.
Think
I'm so grateful that you shared that. And like I said, my friend got that diagnosis in her 50s. What I want to say is that what if whatever way you were born, whatever way you came in on the planet, what if that was perfect? What if, the way you are is what created gold scars and allows you to help other people? I love that. How do people find you?
that's easy. Goldscars.com. You can find everything but my blood type, and I'm an A positive. So there you go. You got it all now. But goldscars, that's plural. And one thing I'll tell you real quick is on the when you order the book, you won't get this, but if you reach out to me, I'll send you the bookmarks. But I have in my website right now, you can get the 7 to Heal process and start that on your own for free. Please buy the book. Yes, you'll notice that if you put in MJA40, you'll get 40% off. So make sure you do. We
Okay,
can add that in the show notes. But it'll take you
okay.
through help, healing, healthy, hope, holiness, happiness, and hilarious. And those 7 steps, I made them fun, but they're legit. It's taking yourself from the help part all the way where you're just roaring with laughter. Because I'm a person filled with joy, and I've been through every monstrosity you can think of, and I'm still laughing every day. And that's where I want everyone to be.
Mm.
There is
Well, it's
joy after grief. There is.
yes, there is. Well, I'm so grateful. I ask the same last question of every guest on my show. This show is called Women Awakening. What do you think is the most important thing about women awakening on the planet today?
Wow, I I'm I've been through a lot as a woman, and I've been mistreated by employers. I've lost jobs because I was a woman. I couldn't even get a coffee in a gas station one time because the men were there trying to go to work and I had to wait. And there I was, a working woman, right? So I've seen that kind of discrimination, but I never let it define me. So what I say is, damn the torpedoes and full speed ahead. If you've got it in you, you fight for it. No offense, you get the short end of the lollipop, make a fuss. Because we've got to stand up. We've got more generations of women to go, I think, before we're going to truly see the equality that we all deserve. And I hate that for my granddaughter, who I adore. But I see it still. And it's not our husband's faults or our father's faults or our son's faults. It's just the way the world has gone, and it's just not moving fast enough to suit us women right now. So push for that cause for women's rights. We're still fighting that battle. I hate it, but it's really true.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I agree. It's like, but that's why I really believe that women standing in their power is what raises the frequency. I
Yeah.
want to thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful that you've been a guest on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay, ladies, I close this show the same way, different words. You know, I loved that when I got the information on Sylvia, that it was talking about gold scars, because there is something about what's innate within us that allows us to be resilient and tap into our strength and our power and our courage. So I want you to know that nothing that has ever happened to you defines you. You get to create the life you want to live. You get to bring your joy to the planet. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity with you every week. I love you, and I'll see you on the next session. Bye.